Welcome to our lesson on angle measurement and direction. This presentation will explore some of the fundamental concepts used in surveying to describe the direction and orientation of lines. Understanding how angles and directions are measured is essential in surveying because it allows us to accurately establish the position of points, determine the orientation of survey lines, and represent these measurements on plans and maps. Before we proceed with angle measurement and direction, it is important to understand the different units used for measuring angles. The first and most commonly used system is the sexagesimal system. In this system, a complete revolution is divided into 360 degrees, and each degree is further divided into 60 minutes, and each minute is divided into 60 seconds. This is the system we commonly encounter when expressing bearings, angles, and other measurements in surveying. The second unit is the grad or gon. This system is used in some European countries. A complete revolution is divided into 400 grads or gons, making a right angle equal to 100 grads. The third one is the radian, which is particularly useful in mathematical engineering in mathematical engineering and computer calculations. One complete revolution is equal to 2 pi radians, while a right angle is equal to pi over 2 radians. Now, the radian measure is defined as the ratio of the arc length to the radius. And finally, the fourth one, or the fourth unit, which is also important in surveying, particularly in military and engineering applications, is the mil. A mil is an angular unit in which a complete revolution is divided into 6,400 equal parts. Therefore, one complete revolution is equal to 6,400 mils, and a right angle is equal to 1,600 mils. A mil can be defined as 1/6,400th of a complete revolution, or an angular measurement of 1 over 6,400 of 360 degrees. In practical term, a mil represents a very small angle and is useful when precise angular direction is required. So to summarize, the four units we will encounter are degrees, grads or gons, radians, and mils. Each system divides a complete revolution differently, but all of them serve the same basic purpose to express and measure angular direction accurately. We now introduce one of the most fundamental concepts in surveying, the meridian. A meridian is a fixed line of reference used to establish the direction of a line. In surveying, we need a reliable reference direction so that we can describe the orientation of any survey line accurately. So think of the meridian as our starting or reference direction. Once this reference line is established, we can measure an angle from it to determine the direction of another line. This allows surveyors to describe whether a line is oriented toward the north, south, east, or west, and by how many degrees. It is important to remember that the term meridian does not refer to only one specific line. Depending on how the reference direction is established, we can have different types of meridians, such as the true meridian or the geographic meridian, or sometimes referred to as the astronomic meridian. Another is the magnetic meridian, then the grid meridian, and assumed meridian. Understanding the concept of a meridian is therefore essential because it serves as the basis for determining bearing and azimuths, which we will discuss in the succeeding parts of this lesson. The first type of meridian is the true meridian. The true meridian is also known as the geographic or astronomic meridian. It is an important reference line used in surveying because it represents the actual direction of the Earth's geographic north and south. A true meridian passes through the geographic North Pole, the geographic South Pole, and the observer's position. Because it is based on the Earth's geographic poles, it provides a reliable reference for determining directions and establishing the orientation of survey lines. One important characteristic of true meridians is that they are not parallel to one another. Instead, they gradually converge toward the north and south poles. This is because all true meridians ultimately meet at the geographic poles. In surveying, understanding the true meridian is important because it provides a basis for determining the true bearing or direction of a line with respect to geographic north. We move on to the second type of meridian, which is the magnetic meridian. A magnetic meridian is a fixed reference line that indicates the direction of the Earth's magnetic field at a particular location. Unlike the true meridian, which is based on the geographic north and south poles, the magnetic meridian is determined by the Earth's magnetic field. Its direction can be established using a freely suspended magnetic needle, such as the needle of a compass. When the compass needle is allowed to move freely, it aligns itself with the magnetic field of the Earth. The direction in which the needle points represents the magnetic meridian of the observer's position. The magnetic meridian is particularly useful in surveying and navigation when using a magnetic compass to determine the direction or bearing of a line. It is important to remember, however, that the magnetic meridian does not generally coincide with the true meridian. The difference between these two directions is known as magnetic declination, which we will discuss later. We now discuss the third type of meridian, which is the grid meridian. A grid meridian is a fixed reference line that is parallel to the central meridian of a system of plane rectangular coordinates. It is commonly used when working with maps and coordinate systems, where locations are represented using grid coordinates. In a grid system, one particular meridian is selected as the central meridian. This central meridian usually coincides or is closely associated with the true meridian of the area being mapped. Once the central meridian is established, the other meridians within the grid system are treated as parallel to it. This arrangement makes it easier to determine and represent the positions and directions of points on a map using a rectangular coordinate system. So, unlike true meridians, which converge toward the geographic poles, grid meridians are considered parallel within the grid system. This makes the grid meridian especially useful in surveying mapping or in surveying, in mapping, and coordinate-based computations. We now discuss the fourth type of meridian, which is the assumed meridian. An assumed meridian is an arbitrarily chosen fixed line of reference that a surveyor selects for convenience. Unlike the true meridian or magnetic meridian, it does not necessarily represent the actual geographic or magnetic north direction. The main purpose of an assumed meridian is to provide a simple and convenient reference direction for a particular surveying project. This is especially useful for small or localized surveys, where establishing a true or magnetic meridian may not be necessary. For example, The surveyor may choose the direction from one survey station to an adjoining station as the assumed meridian. It may also be based on the direction toward a well-defined permanent point, such as a prominent building, monument, or other easily identifiable landmark. Once this reference direction is selected, the surveyor can use it to measure and record the bearings or directions of other survey lines within the project. So, the important thing to remember is that an assumed meridian is not necessarily related to geographic north or magnetic north. It is simply a convenient reference established by the surveyor to make the measurement and computation of directions easier. Now that we have discussed the different types of meridians, we move on to the concept of bearing. The bearing of a line is defined as the acute horizontal angle between a reference meridian and the survey line. In other words, bearing tells us the direction of a particular line in relation to a chosen reference direction. When measuring a bearing, the angle is always measured from either the north or south direction toward either the east or west. Again, when measuring a bearing, the angle is measured from either the north or south direction toward either the east or west. The angle is selected so that the resulting value is always less than 90 degrees. So the angle should be an acute angle. As shown in the diagram, the reference meridian provides the starting direction, and the survey line determines where the angle is measured. For example, a line may have a bearing of north 70 degrees east, meaning that the line is 70 degrees east of north, or 70 degrees measured from north to east. The letters north, or rather the letters N or S, come before the angle, indicating where the measurement starts from north or south. The letters E or W come after the angle, indicating whether the line is measured toward the east or west. Therefore, a bearing not only gives us the size of the angle but also identifies the quadrant or direction of the line. This makes bearings very useful in surveying for describing the orientation of property lines, traverse lines, and other surveyed features. We now move on to another important way of expressing direction in surveying, which is the azimuth. An azimuth is a horizontal angle measured clockwise from a reference meridian to a survey line. Unlike a bearing, which measures an acute angle from either north or south, an azimuth gives us a single angular value that can range from 0 to 360 degrees. Azimuths are generally measured starting from the north direction and proceeding clockwise. From north in a clockwise direction. For example, an azimuth of 70 degrees means that the line is 70 degrees clockwise from north. An azimuth of 180 degrees represents the south direction, while 90 degrees and 270 degrees represent east and west, respectively. Another important concept is the forward and back azimuth of a line. The forward azimuth describes the direction of a line when observed from its starting point towards its ending point. The reverse direction is called the back azimuth. To convert a forward azimuth to a back azimuth, we can simply add or subtract 180 degrees. If the forward azimuth is less than 180 degrees, we add 180 degrees. And if it is greater than 180 degrees, we subtract 180 degrees. For example, if the forward azimuth is 145 degrees, its back azimuth is 325 degrees. So we just add 180 degrees to 145. Conversely, if the forward azimuth is 235 degrees, we subtract 180 degrees, gives a back azimuth of 55 degrees. So, the key difference to remember is that bearing uses an angle of less than 90 degrees together with the directional letters north, south, east, and west, N, S, E, and W, while azimuth uses a clockwise angle from north expressed from 0 to 360 degrees.